I am going to share with you guys a drumroll makeup tutorial. Actually, I shouldn't call it a makeup tutorial. That sounds way too professional. My makeup routine. There we go. That's a little bit more accurate. Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I wanted to share my makeup routine with you guys mostly because I think it's my most highly requested video. I know it's something that you guys want to see and I understand why. If you don't know, I recently opened up about my lifelong struggles with acne. And so understandably, people are wondering, I'm sure, how I have been keeping up the appearance of clear skin. If you have seen my second YouTube video I did about my acne story, if you've seen that video, you know that my skin was the worst it's ever been just about 3 months ago. And now it is so much better. I currently have no makeup on, so you can see where I'm at. I know this is a makeup routine video, but this is just a little intro to it and then I'll get into the routine. I'll even put the timestamp that you can just skip to if you just don't care about any of this chit chat and you want to skip to the makeup part. So because I went through such a difficult time with my skin just recently where it was really beyond anything that makeup could cover. Even Instagram filters weren't covering it. I was unable to fulfill any brand deals I had going on. I felt like I couldn't even do live Instagram workouts because my skin was so bad and filters wouldn't cover it. Anyone who's battled acne knows what an emotional toll it can take on you. I understand how important covering it is and feeling confident, and for me, my whole life, makeup has been the only way that I felt comfortable. And so makeup has been a big part of my life. I'm by no means a professional. In fact, quite the contrary. I kind of just wing it. So I have some tips and advice and just things that I could share how I got to this point of feeling comfortable in my own skin, and it's not just about having clear skin. One thing I wanted to share that really has had such an impact on my confidence in my own skin. It sounds kind of silly, I guess, but it's eyebrows. For the longest time, I really just neglected brows, didn't think they were a big deal, really just was focusing more on obviously covering my face. I decided to get my brows microbladed a year ago, almost exactly a year ago. It's basically semi-permanent, almost like a tattoo. It's like micro tiny lines that mimic hairs. I like the effect that it had once it faded, and now it's almost faded to the point that it's not there anymore. I discovered Flybrow. Flybrow is a girl who does brows, and her name's Susie, she's great. On top of the sort of faded microblading, I've started to do lamination and tinting. And I know this sounds like a lot of steps for brows. I don't necessarily recommend that you go and get all these done, but my whole point here is that having brows structuring my face has given me so much confidence without makeup. Even when my skin was at its worst just a few months ago, I went and got my brows laminated and tinted with Flybrow. It gave me so much confidence even though I was in such a low spot because my skin was so bad. Just having my brows looking so beautiful. If anyone is can relate to that feeling of just feeling really naked without makeup, it's something to look into. That's just something that really gave me a lot of confidence. Okay, let's get into this routine. This is my everyday makeup routine if I want enough coverage but not overdoing the coverage. I also have a more minimal makeup routine that I could show in a different video, but for this one, I'm assuming you guys want to know how I cover. So the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning after I do my skin routine is I brush out my brows. I brush them out with usually a little bit of like face oil or a balm. You have to keep your brow hairs moisturized if you get them laminated, otherwise they will turn crispy and like crunchy, if that makes sense. If anyone is looking for a brow revamp, I highly recommend trying lamination with tinting because it makes your brows look like not your brows. I don't have anything on my skin that is in terms of coverage. I just have my moisturizers and stuff like that on. And then I have a little bit of my sunscreen on, and the sunscreen I use is the Isden Aerofitana Ageless. This actually does have a slight tint to it. Nothing that is really considered coverage, but maybe just like a slight blur. So I'm gonna show you guys a little trick. I learned this on TikTok. It went crazy viral, so you've probably seen it. It really is a great little trick for anyone who has oily skin to make your makeup sit better on your face. The first thing I do is I set my face before I put any makeup on. So I'm gonna be setting it with this Laura Mercier translucent powder, the one that everyone has ever because it's the best. But I also do like this translucent veil by Hourglass. A little bit on there and dab that all over my face. And then I take a primer. So I'm gonna use this one by Tatcha. This is the Liquid Silk Canvas. I'm gonna take a little bit of this and apply it to my skin. Now we have a good base for our foundation. So for foundation, I use Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. It's a really good foundation that's not too cakey. Still gives the kind of the coverage that you want. I use the shade 5.5. What I do is I put a few drops on my hands, take a beauty blender, and I just dab it on my skin. This foundation is much lighter and you can kind of build up the coverage if you want, but it's not like a heavy foundation. I've really been opting for like looking as much like I don't have makeup on as possible. This foundation is perfect for that. We are out. Fear not, we have a new one. Because this foundation is more sheer, I'm not expecting it to necessarily cover these spots, although I will say it does a pretty good job considering that it's such a sheer foundation. But I know that it's not going to completely cover any darker spots, scars, or pimples, and I don't expect it to. My top 3 concealers would be Tarte Shape Tape, Nars Radiant Creamy Concealer, and then Hourglass has some really good ones. Unfortunately, these are not the right shade for me, so I can't use them. Because I want a brighter look under my eyes, I'm going to use this one because it's the brightest, and this is light medium. So I'm just gonna dab some under. I saw this on TikTok where you do that, and I don't know really if it does anything, but I do it anyways because I saw it on TikTok. It's supposed to like give you like that lifted look. I'm just gonna let that sit for a second while I go in with my Nars concealer. This one is the right color to go in and cover my problem areas, which is all right here. So I really just dab it where it's needed. I blend in my under eye concealer with a sponge because I just think that it ends up looking a little more blended and better. So I'm gonna take my beauty blender and just blend away. Once that is blended in, I take a little concealer brush. This is one from Hourglass. Looks like this. And I use this to more precisely cover my concealer over anywhere that needs it. Now that that is done, that is my base. And the next thing I like to do is add some color back to my face. I am a big bronzer advocate, big ambassador for bronzer. And I also have found that I love liquid bronzers and liquid blushes because they look so natural. So even if I'm not gonna be wearing makeup, I'll put on a little bit of this just because it gives you a little bit more life. This is the Cloud Paint from Glossier. This is in the color Dusk. I really love this so much that I'm almost out and I have a new one here. So what I do is I just put a little bit of that on my hand. I think this is probably like breaking the rules of makeup, but I use a brush that looks like this. I don't really know if that's the right thing to do or not, but you know, I'm not a professional. And then I just take a little bit off my hand and I blend that over my cheek. And it instantly adds like just a glow and some color some life back to your cheeks. You don't want to get too much on your brush because then you are stuck with trying to like blend it in. Just start with like a little amount and add more. You also don't want to go too close up under your eye because then it just like starts to mix with your concealer and just looks kind of weird. And then I take whatever's left on the brush and I put it on my nose because the appearance of looking like you caught the sun and that you kind of like have a little bit of a sunburn is very like healthy looking. I also put it on the base of my eyelids. You want to look like you have a first-degree sunburn. That's the goal, without harming your skin. So for bronzer, I don't really have a rhyme or a reason for what I use or where. I really like this one by Hourglass. This is the Ambient Lighting Bronzer Radiant Bronze Light. It's really nice because it has some dark streaks, but then it also has a bit of like sort of highlighter situation going on in the lighter tones, and it doesn't give you like too much of a highlighter-y look that you might think it would by looking at it. I'm just gonna go and use this brush and I just put it where you would put your bronzer. No surprises there. Ever since somebody called me a 5-head, that's been added to my list of insecurities, and a trick to make your forehead seem like it's not so long is to really heavily bronze this upper part where your hairline is, on the nose, on the chin, along the jawline. Try not to put too much there while I'm breaking out right there. Save my skin a little bit. My rule with bronzer is that the limit does not exist, and I really just go for it and put on a lot. The next thing I will do is I'm gonna do my eyes, and I'm not a big eyeshadow person. I just kind of usually, to be honest, will put just a little bit of bronzer there and call it a day. But I have been really loving using this Charlotte Tilbury palette. It's just like a little mini palette, and it's from the Pillow Talk collection. It's the Pillow Talk palette, actually. I'm gonna take this lighter shade, take a little bit on a little fluffy brush, just put it in my crease. So if you do a bronzer, it kind of just keeps your face sort of monotone in terms of your eyelid color is the same as your cheek bronzed area. But what I like about using a more of a pinky tone like that is it just adds like a little bit more brightness and just like kind of a glow to your eyes. You really never do anything crazy with eyeshadow. I don't really even do eyeliner. And then I'll just take a little bit on the same brush and I'll take that darker shade and just tap it in the corner. Just adds a little more depth and dimension. If I really want a little more glow, I'll just take a little bit of this lighter one on my finger. And for anything on the inner corner, I always use my finger. I just tap that, the inner corner. Because I have much smaller eyes, it really opens up my eye more. If you can see a little bit of like a light shade right there on the lower lid. I only ever use one lip color. I'm not really a big like lip person either. I just find my color and then that's what I stick to. And for the longest time, that was MAC Whirl. I used to go through these like crazy because this was what I used every day. And I've recently replaced it with this one. This is a shade by Makeup Forever and the color is called Anywhere Caffeine. It's like a deeper, darker, more saturated version of my natural lip color, which is really the most ideal for me just because I do want to achieve a very natural look. So, okay, so that's kind of the outline, and then I'll usually just fill in a little bit too with the same color. I'll usually just take a little bit of chapstick and kind of blur that in, or sometimes I'll add a lipstick over top. This one is called Hepburn Honey by Charlotte Tilbury. So I'm just gonna put this over. It's slightly lighter than the liner, which ends up just adding a little bit more dimension to your lips. That is lips, and then what should I do next? Okay, let's do mascara. I stick to a certain mascara, and then once I find one that I love, I don't really ever branch out. One of my favorites that I used a lot for a very long time was by Wander Beauty. It's still a favorite of mine. I've been using it the last couple of days, and it is the Unleashed Volume and Curl Mascara. This one is great for like really just getting some va-va-voom with your lashes and going crazy if you want like a more dramatic look. The other mascara that I adore is the Glossier Lash Stick. Which one should I use? Let's go volume. There's really nothing to say about this process. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, while I let that side dry, I'm gonna do the other one, and then I'm gonna go over both sides again. So we're going for volume here. So it's a little bit more of a dramatic look than my typical mascara application. Next, I can already tell from this ring light that my skin is starting to kind of get a little bit oily, which is just what happens to my skin because I have very oily skin. So I'm gonna go ahead and set my makeup now. Tap a little bit of that in here. Again, this is the Laura Mercier Translucent Setting Powder. For a few minutes, I'm gonna look a little too matte, but don't worry, my skin will be working hard to produce some oil, and before you know it, I'll be oily again. I never really do highlighter. I love the idea of it. I just feel like it doesn't really suit my face. I think maybe it's because I'm so oily already that I don't really see the appeal in adding more of an oily effect to my skin. However, I absolutely love when girls wear highlighter. I think it looks so pretty, so why not? Let's try it out. I'm gonna try out this palette, the Ambient Lighting Palette. We have Dim Light, Incandescent Light, and Radiant Light. I'm gonna go for Dim Light, which is the more natural looking shade of the three. Can't even see it. Well, I'm really not sure if this is doing anything or not. Okay, I'm gonna see if this lighter shade shows up better. And, oh yeah, that one shows up. Everything up until the highlighter is typically how I do my makeup. I wouldn't really normally do a highlighter. I'll put a little on my nose. When my brows are freshly done, i.e. how they were like 3 weeks ago, I don't even touch them. But right now they are a little bit more sparse. So because I am doing a full makeup look, I am going to go ahead and fill them in a little bit more. This one's good from Benefit. I also have this one from a brand called G Beauty. I'm just going to fill them in a little bit where I feel like they're lacking. Kind of line the bottom very lightly. I don't know if you can tell, but it just gives it a little bit more of a presence. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side. I like to take a little bit of a setting brow gel. This is one by Hourglass. I brush them up like that, and then I take the top and I just do that. Just making sure that they're thoroughly coated so that they stay where I'm putting them. And then now that they're all crazy looking, I take the top of the brush and just put them in place like that. There you have it. That is my makeup routine. This is what I do on a daily basis for a full face of makeup. So I hope that this was a good first makeup tutorial. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it and it was insightful and helpful to learn about what products I use and how I do my makeup on a daily basis. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, you know what to do. Please subscribe to my channel if you watch my videos. It motivates me to keep creating videos, and right now I'm really stoked on YouTube. So love you guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.